Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I am making another custom DIY pop figure. Now the pop figure I am making today is of the brand new Pokemon Scorbunny. Now before I do that, I just want to give a little announcement. Yep, that is correct. My online store is finally open. I have actually decided to open my own online store where I sell most of my original artworks, and this is just to have a way for you guys to support me, because being an artist is very expensive. And yeah, so yeah, if you want to go check it out, it is at scribblefix.storenvy.com. Now to start off this little pop figure here, I actually had to do something which I had to do in my previous one as well, but not to as an extreme extent. I had to cut off some parts of the base for this, and that was mainly the ears and the nose. Now this is because I am making a pop figure of a creature which is not human, so obviously I sort of have to remove some features to make way for the non-human features. Now the materials I'm using today are a DIY Funko Pop base, which is a lovely invention where they basically make a very generic white pop figure, and they actually prime it and everything, and yeah, you can actually use this to customize your own pop Funkos. Now other than that, I also use a bit of polymer clay. I prefer to use the FUNKO brand just because that is what is available to me. And yeah, other sort of materials I'm using today is acrylic paints. I'm using a bit of gesso, and I am also using a bit of matte fixative as well. Oh, and I'm also using a black watercolor pencil as well, just to do some little details. Now to start off the sculpt, I had to actually cover up the arms because Scorbunny himself has sort of paws, and they're sort of just a bit cartoony, and they don't have like wrists and like fingers and everything like that. So I had to cover that up and make it look more like the shape of the bunny. Now after this, I had to add a little bit extra sort of bulk to the feet, and this is mainly because Scorbunny has some very thin legs and very large rabbit feet, so I really wanted to sort of emphasize the big feet and make the legs look thinner in comparison. And yeah, that was easy. I just added a nice thicker layer of clay to the feet, and I sort of shaped it to make it look nice and square. After this, I had to add some other features, including the little sort of square band-aid thing between his eyes, as well as a little triangle bunny nose, and also some little tufts of fur on the sides of his head. Now after I had all of that done, I decided to give this pop figure its first bake. Now I get a lot of questions about this part of the process, and that is baking it. A lot of people seem very concerned, even when I assure them that it won't melt in the oven. Yes, it is made of a sort of plastic, the base is. However, if you bake it at the right temperatures for the pop polymer clay, it actually won't melt the base. Now you do have to be careful because the base will soften and it will be a little bit malleable at this time. However, just try not to bake it for too long. And yeah, what I actually like to do was I sort of baked it in 2 goes. So I didn't bake it the whole time, and I just sort of took it out, let it cool down a little bit, let the base sort of go a little bit more sturdy, and then I would pop it back in the oven again for a second bake. Now this just helps me to make sure that the base doesn't melt. And yeah, it's funny, I mentioned this in my last pop figure video, that no, you won't destroy the base, it won't turn into a puddle, and people seem to still think it would. But I have done this like probably 4 times now and have not had any problems, so I just wanted to clear that up. But I will probably still get more comments about it. But yeah, after that first initial bake, I decided to add the ears of this bunny because that is a very, very prominent feature. Now, to give the ears a bit more of a sturdy foundation, I actually decided to drill into the top of the bunny's head with my drill and insert some really thick, strong wire. And this was just going to be a bit of an armature for the insides of the ears to sort of keep it nice and sturdy and make sure it doesn't bend and flop over. And yeah, that was pretty easy. And then after that, I added the ears and sculpted them the best I could. And then I put it in the oven for its second bake. Now after this, I used a lot of sandpaper and I just sort of went over the whole thing and gave it a nice bit of a smoothing. Now, people have said to me that I can use, rubbing alcohol to smoothen out the polymer clay, and I would really love to try this, but at this time I didn't have any, and I actually didn't have any money to buy any, so you know, I guess I just went without. But you know what, it worked out pretty well for me anyway, so I'm not too mad about that. After I was very happy with the results of the sculpt, I add a nice thick layer of gesso, which is a primer. Now after that, I put in a nice layer of colors on this. Now it is a pretty simple paint job for Scorbunny. I did end up actually painting white over the whole thing, even though the gesso is white, but that was just to make sure that the whole paint job had the exact same texture and finish. So yeah, it was just a matter of mixing some colors that matched the bunny and painting them on, and my god, those details that I'm painting right now were probably the hardest of the lot. I really didn't want to mess up any of the colors because I was running out of white paint. So if I made a mistake, I wouldn't have been able to paint over it. So that's why it was terrifying for me to do so. But I just took my time and did it very slowly, very carefully, and I got through without making any mistakes, and I am so glad about that. Now if you're interested, or if you haven't seen my previous pop figure video, I actually did make a Mewtwo pop figure the same way that I made this, and that is definitely a video on my channel. So if you want to go check that out and see how I made an awesome Mewtwo pop figure, please check it out. I'll leave a link in the description and a card on the screen. So for the colors, I'm using my Joe Sonja's Matte Flow acrylics. These are my favorite paints to use because they have a lovely matte finish. And yeah, I ended up using a bit of fixative over the top, which is supposed to have a matte finish, but it kind of gives it a very, very slight gloss. But I'm not mad at that at all because it sort of protects the paint a little bit. Now, the colors I used were Naphthol Red Light, as well as a little bit of yellow mixed in with that to make the sort of reddish orange color. Now, I mixed a little bit of white in with that to make the slightly lighter reddish color, and as well as that, I also used a bit of a warm orangey yellow color for the yellow parts. Now, for the eyes, I didn't use paint. I actually used a black watercolor pencil. Now, I did this because in my last one where I drew the Mewtwo, I did the same thing because I had the idea from a doll repaint video. And I absolutely love this method because it is so much easier to get details down, especially more control. And I was way more able to control the color and make a nice round circle for the eyes. So that's why I prefer to do it that way. Now, being a watercolor pencil, it can get smudged with water, and that is why I like to add a few layers of matte fixative over the top, because that just adds a little bit of protection over the top of the pencil. Now here are the results of this sort of adventure, and I love this little guy so much. I'm not actually going to sell this pop figure because my boyfriend already has dibs on it. However, I am probably going to add a make to order sort of one on my online shop. So if you want to get one of these for yourself, please check it out and I'll leave a link in the description. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I had a blast making this, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me create it. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Have a lovely day, everyone.